Good morning to you from the bunker. How exciting we actually get to talk about something that's not a current event like yesterday afternoon's news about things that are probably coming this summer that's going to cause catastrophe. No, this morning, we're actually going to talk about your 72-hour kit. In fact, we've been focusing on your 72-hour kit all this week. And if you are new to hearing about this, when you look at prepping should be done in phases. You need to first set up 72 hours worth of food, water, items and equipment you'll need, then what you can actually have set up for a month, then what you can actually have set up for a year, and then long-term. Long-term is a whole different situation where basically there's a complete collapse society and you have to be self-sufficient and sustained. But when you talk about the first 72 hours, of course, a lot of the things that you actually look at you'll need for the 72 hours, you'll need then as well, like a manual can opener. Yeah, there's a whole bunch of things like that. And my wife and I, we've been prepping for decades, mind you. And every time we actually went out camping, every time we actually did brainstorming, we'd actually start compiling a list of things we would need. And there's no better way to do this, by the way, than going camping, because you head out and you have your list, you put everything that's on your list and you go out. And while you're out there, you're like, I forgot this item and we should add this to the list. And that's what we've been doing for years and years and years. We actually set that up into a checklist. If you actually look at the description below, you'll see a link where you can actually go to our store, which is connected to our website. And there's two things you can look at. First is a booklet. I mentioned this past few days, so just bear with me if you've already seen this. But there's a booklet, basically the beginnings of preparedness, what you can do to get through the basics. And then secondly is a checklist, and it's this checklist of everything you want to have for that 72 hours. Now, by all means, you don't have to have our checklist. If you already have your own, then you're definitely above the curve, because I find that most people don't have this. But anyways, right now we're having a special. You can buy the booklet and the checklist for $5. So if you actually look at the first link in the store, it's a brown looking book. You'll actually be able to download both of them as PDFs, the booklet and the checklist, for only $5. But there's a real simple, idiom, I guess, basically the way things are. If you don't write it down, you'll forget it. In our mind, we're like, okay, I'll remember this. But of course we don't. This is what plagues mankind. And having a list, again, even if you generate your own list, is essential. You must have this. So this video is not about going through that list. That's what we've been doing for the past couple of videos. I will be talking about little things you'll want for the list, but not necessarily the list itself. Like, for example, you'll have to have water, a gallon a day. You have to have food. But instead of actually right now in this video talking about what's on the list, and here's the list, by the way, you'll see it's actually 3 pages of things that you should look for. And if some of the things don't apply to you, then by all means, you don't have to use them. But I want to talk about the attributes of the 72-hour kit itself, not necessarily what's on the list, even though we'll see some things on there. For example, you'll see a lot of things that says like canned meat, canned Vienna sausages, canned veggies, etc. And you'll find very little things like rice or pasta. And the reason being is if you are basically held up for just 72 hours, we're not talking about at this point crap hitting the fan, probably not anyway. You want to be ready for those 72 hours to be able to get through that catastrophe or an emergency. So being ready for 3 days worth of emergency, and that's what all the websites are saying to do. I mean, the government websites, that is. FEMA wants you to be prepared for 3 days, but it still took a week to get to the Superdome. Okay, I get it. But when I talk about canned food for this as opposed to rice, you have to put tons of heat, tons of energy into the rice to prepare it, even instant rice. Whereas if you actually have a can of chili, it actually needs no preparations at all as far as cooking goes. You could, if you wanted to, eat it cold right out of the can and it's good to go. Not the tastiest, but it can be done. Rice, eating dry rice, not so tasty. So there's lots of things on there like chili, fruit, veggies, different kinds of meats. And I always try to say lots of meats. Some foods you may actually have to add a little bit of water, or drinks too, like if you actually have some powdered Gatorade. And one of the things you'll see on the list too are spices. That's one thing that's often overlooked when it comes to 72-hour prepping or even long-term prepping are spices. You want to enjoy the apocalypse. It's going to be beautiful as far as your food goes. You want to make sure it's very flavorful, because morale, even if it's just yourself, morale is incredibly important in survival. And I think people often overlook that. You have to have the morale there. If not, you'll go simply bonkers. So when it comes to food for your 72-hour kit or even long-term prepping, you don't want an MRE. They're fun. I love MREs. And there's certain flavors I remember back then that I absolutely loved, like It was like chili mac, I think what it was. I loved that stuff back then. Now, forget it. Freeze-dried food, yeah, long-term freeze-dried food is good. But if you actually want to get to just 72 hours of food, canned food is amazing for this, adding some spices to it. But the point is, you need to make a meal. Don't simply just have an MRE. You actually want to have a meal on a plate. I mean, it may be a paper plate, but you want a plate. You want to try to make as much sanity as possible during those difficult times. Let's face it, if it's a 72-hour kit you're dipping into, it's probably more of a small emergency, like maybe just a power outage. Or, worse yet, maybe there's been a tornado through and there's a little bit of damage outside. You're not going to want to worry about cooking, but you're still going to need to be able to relax and satisfy yourself. So try to stay away from the freeze-dried, try to stay away from the MREs, and go with actual real food. Granted, I know canned food isn't always the best food in the world, but some of it's actually very good. We try to stay away from the preservatives as much as possible. Drinks too. I mean, if you actually have a French press, that's even better. Something you could put on your list. Or maybe instant coffee. Instant coffee is great because it lasts practically forever. Tea bags. And don't forget your pet. Your pet's going to need to have food too. So actually have this stuff set aside. Now, with that in mind, I do want to say that it's best you actually take the 72 hours, every possible thing you'll need. Even if you sometimes have the luxury, mind you, of buying duplicates, an extra can opener, some extra paper plates, an extra cooking set for cooking outdoors, etc., and keep those in your tubs or backpack, it's better if you do that. Because if there is an emergency and you have to get out quick, it's much easier to go into the garage or under your bed or whatever and grab those tubs that has the food and all those items. You can get them right into the car and go. Or, of course, there's some people who are very extreme. I shouldn't say extreme, but definitely better off than I am. They have them in backpacks, and off they can go. I love backpacking, but I don't have all my 72-hour kit into a backpack. I personally think tubs works easier for me, but that's just to each their own. But all the stuff in your kit should be set up so you really don't have to do any cooking. But now if you do want to do cooking, having some kind of cooking device would be a great thing to have too. Like personally, we love BioLights. I'll actually be modeling one of those in a few weeks on the channel. But basically, the BioLight can actually make a really good fire. It's like a rocket stove, but also can actually charge up your phone and such. All kinds of other ways too. You can actually go with like little propane or MAP gas canisters. Well, MAP gas, maybe that's for torches, but alcohol burners, those things, little woods. We like burning stuff with wood because we live on a very wood property. Make sure you have the right pots in there. If you grab your pan from under your cupboard and you want to start cooking out with it, it's called ruining your pan. A lot of the stuff you actually do for camping and stuff is actually made better than your cookware at home. And not to mention, you don't want to ruin your cookware at home because after the 72 hours, you'll have to come back to it. But obviously, there's things on the list like lighters. You want to make sure you have lots of lighters. And again, like the manual can opener. But that's just a smidgen of what's on these lists. There's tons of things that you really need to look at. And on the list too, I want to show you that there's actually blank spots on here. So in the blank spots, because there are certain things that maybe we forgot, maybe things that don't pertain to us, but may pertain to you. Make sure you have a list. It is a very basic elemental things as humans we can do to try to keep lives straight in the times of chaos. All right, now again, there's nothing wrong with keeping the stuff in the pantry. If that's what you want to do, go for it. I would still have lists though, so that way if there's an emergency, you can go through your list and grab the stuff and put it into a tub and off you go if you need to evacuate for whatever reason. What we like to do is this. On our list specifically is we try to keep all those items into a specific tub or two, including the food, and every couple months, go out camping with it. Actually use up the food. It's a way to rotate the stock. It also keeps you fresh as far as camping. If you actually get put out into the point where you're out in the woods, living out there for whatever reason, it's not going to be a big shock, especially when it comes to kids and little kids. You don't want them to completely flip out and wonder what's going on. They're used to going out and camping all the time. And besides, it's just fun anyway. But it actually will give you experience with your items. And that's something I find that there's a lot of survival preppers don't do. I think some of the big ones live with this stuff all the time like we do, but I find a lot of people have this stuff in their bag and they never even open it. You want to make sure you use this stuff and know how to use it, because there's nothing worse than actually if you get in a situation where you're out in the middle of nowhere because the crap really has hit the fan and you realize you don't know how to use this stuff, or it doesn't really work what you thought it would, or maybe it's even broken. That's a bad time to realize you have the wrong stuff. So make sure you use your stuff often, going camping every couple months. Eat everything in the kit for rotational stock. And then what you want to do is while you're out there, pay very, very close attention to the things you need, to everything you need. And as you have needs, you write it on the page. Certain things you're like, I'll never need this. You mark it off and continuously make a fluid dynamic of your list so you know exactly what you'll need and what you won't. So when actually crap hits the fan, off you'll go. Okay, now if you do choose a bag, there's lots of bags to choose from, and I'll show you some attributes or tell you about some that you're going to want to look for. You want to have it so you don't want to go over 20% of your body weight in your bag. 10 to 20% is best. Don't go over 20. You're going to really overtax yourself. Some of us may get overtaxed anyway, so try to keep it light. 20, 30 pounds max. 30 pounds maximum for your bag, no matter how big you are. I mean, if you're a smaller person, 30 may be too much for you. But if you actually have a backpack, don't do that. There's all kinds of brands. There's Killick, Badlands, Mystery Ranch, Osprey. I actually have a High Sierra, a really big bag. I love it. And when you're looking at just a 72-hour kit, you're probably going to be looking at about a 40-liter bag, maybe up to 60 liters if you want to put a lot of stuff in there. But remember, it's about trying to keep minimalist as much as possible. Have everything you need, but don't overtax yourself or overburden yourself. On the bag itself, don't ever have things hanging off it. With backpacking you have like cords and carabiners and stuff, but when you're actually going to be on the move, you want everything inside the bag itself as much as you possibly can. The size of the frame, your bag should be as width of your body. Shouldn't go any past that because you'll snag on things. It's just natural human instinct as far as you know how big your body is, and it should come up to your shoulders, not above. Even the top of the bag has what's called the attic, where you can put things in it. Have it so the attic still stays below your head because you want to be able to put your head back, and it's almost like a claustrophobic feeling if you can't, because you know there's something there. You can't put your head back to look up in the air. But again, guys, if you can't do this, I do want to say one more thing too, is the strap. There's a waist strap that actually bears a large portion of the actual pack. You should actually have a padded waist strap. I've had some bags that got really cheap. It was just a strap. It works. But the padded ones, that's where it's at. That actually makes it very comfortable and easy to carry your bag around. All right, but again, I was going to say, with your bag, if you can't have a bag, or maybe you're elderly or just not really in shape to carry a bag, it's still fun to have a bag. A tub will work, a couple tubs, some kind of carrier, especially if it has large wheels on it. If you can need to get out of your place and bug out, you can do that. Having rollers on it, something like that will actually be helpful. But the thing is, what you carried in, be a bag or a tub or some kind of roller device, is far more important than doing nothing. We're actually in catastrophic times. Desperate times call for desperate measures, and there's no time anymore to simply say, oh, I've got the stuff on the shelf over there. Do you? I've got some utensils over there. Do you? You have to take inventory. Get checklist. Again, you want to get our checklist. $5, in my opinion, is a really good deal. If I were looking at how to do this stuff, I would easily spend $5 for what I'm going to give you for this. But it's not a sales pitch. I'm just trying to help you out with this. But the books that we actually have put out are really helpful for this. And we're finishing up our 72-hour kit now. We'll be talking about what you want to look for, like a month supply, year supply, in future videos. And the next few videos after this are actually going to be getting into medical. And I'll start putting together a list of what you want in your medical kit as well. Because, man, if you think about food and equipment list are this big, medical goes way out here. You could get so much stuff, and you have to be able to stay focused. And I'm sure if you've even considered trying to get medical stuff outside of just getting a first aid kit, you've probably got bogged down because there's so many things to get that you could possibly add to your list. I'll help you narrow that down, but that's actually coming into a later video. All right, so I hope this helped out. In the meantime, go ahead and check out this video, and let's continue on with our preps and be prepared for the worst case scenario. Thanks for watching.